really, really excited about this episode because I know there are going to be fans not only from Solar Federation, but from the band Rush, basically worldwide, that are going to tune into this episode. So really excited to have this conversation. We've got Julie Schreiber-Wurzing and Eric Wurzing, vocalist and guitarist respectfully with the Rush tribute band Solar Federation. Guys, thank you so much for taking some time and spending some time with me here on the night shift.
It's totally our pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks. I know scheduling, and it's always tough to get things together, and so glad we could carve out this time to sit down and talk. A lot to get to about you guys personally and your history, how you guys came together, how the band came together. But look, I always like to kind of start at the beginning a little bit here in terms of your musical history. So, Julie, we'll start with you. When did you know that music was going to be a big part of your life?
When I moved from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg when I was 9 years old, I remember that year that they had a talent show. And I didn't have a lot of friends moving across the state, and so this was like my way of getting to do something that made me happy, and what made me happy was singing Whitney Houston at the time.
Sure.
So I sang The Greatest Love of All in the talent show back when I was 9. I sang it a cappella, so I think I changed keys a couple times, but at that moment, that's when I knew. And then when I was 13, I got my first guitar and went and got guitar lessons and just went to the guitar teacher, and basically I just wanted to learn to play acoustic so that I could sing with it. And it wasn't so much about learning the guitar, it was more how can I play alongside myself so that I could go and just do it. So I started playing guitar and singing when I was like 13, 14 years old, and then just started playing at coffee houses. My first show was at The Wire in New Cumberland.
Right. Oh, The Wire. Okay, so I live in New Cumberland presently.
Okay.
I have for a long time. And yeah, that was like a coffee shop, coffee house.
Yeah.
And they would have, young aspiring musicians come in all the time. I certainly remember that. I may have even seen you. I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, Jim and John Howie put that together with, I think, their friend. I can't remember his name, but they had that for a while, and I played, and I remember at the time I was playing like songs by Jewel and and I did a set of music, and I had my own stuff too that I had written, and I would play acoustic with myself, and then I accompanying myself, and then I joined with another young woman named Missy Kuhn, and at the time we came up with a name called Jewel Moon, and we played at The Wire, and then we played at like Borders and all these different things, and it was kind of like a Indigo Girls type of situation. Yeah. Right. So we did that for a while, and then I went to Interlochen Arts Camp. I just kept wanting to have as much music in my life as possible. Yeah. So went to Interlochen Arts Camp, and then for 2 summers up in Michigan, which is a beautiful part of the state of Michigan. If you've never done or visited that area, you should really go. And if you're a musician and you have children who are also really interested in music, they have a fantastic camp program. And when I came back, I also decided my last year, every summer I would go to camp. And the last year, when I was 18, decided to go to Berklee College of Music for a 5-week summer program. Right. And that's when I decided to go to Berklee instead of like University of the Arts in Philadelphia or something
which
like that.
I know Berklee's going to be an important part of your guys' story. I know enough to know that.
Yeah.
So Eric, same thing. I mean, when did the light bulb go off for you and go like, this music thing is going to be a big part of my life?
I would say when I got my first guitar, I was about 12 years old, got it for Christmas, and I found the right teacher shortly after, and I was pretty obsessed. But what really took it to the next level was when we were discussing earlier, my friend Mark, when I was a freshman, gave me this cassette tape of Van Halen 1, and like many other guitar players, when I heard Eruption, I was just like floored. I was like, how is this humanly possible? How does a human do that?
Yeah, he's got to be using a keyboard. He's got to be, right.
Well,
yeah.
plus Eddie also came from like a classical background because he was a classical guitarist in the Netherlands. Or I mean a classical pianist, sorry.
Yeah, right. His father was a classically trained musician. Yeah.
Yes, so, my mom's an opera singer.
Right.
And that's background, so that really like hit me, his classical influence.
Right.
And that's probably the first time I was like, I really like this. But, my mom being an opera singer started me on piano when I was about 5 years old. So I just had always done music, and I think I just always assumed I would. And I think when I got a little older, I was like, I think I'm going to be doing this for a living. Yeah. Or trying to do this for a living.
He's trying. Understood. Yeah, I talk to so many people that, my age, and you and I are relatively close in age. In fairness, you're a little younger. I don't want to date you. But, especially guitar players who, obviously Eddie Van Halen, such a massive, massive influence for them. And for a lot, it's, if they had a guitar like you when you were 12, when they get that, they go, kind of changes their mind about, or their perspective on maybe even the instrument itself completely.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, like, how's he getting this sound? And the interesting thing about Eddie too is that I've always heard is that, and you would know better than me, he didn't use a lot of effects. It was basically his tone. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think one thing I've discovered over the years is that the way you pick, like how you hold your pick, like how hard you hit the strings, that is a massive amount of your tone. Yeah. And Eddie has a very special way of picking. Right. He grips the pick between these two fingers, and then this kind of just stabilizes it. Right. But he picks at an angle because of that. Yeah. And then he can palm mute a certain way and all those kind of things. So.
And do all that while holding a cigarette.
That too, and doing scissor kicks.
And doing scissor kicks at the same time. So we'll fast forward a little bit because I know you had mentioned Berkeley, Julie, and I know that's a part of your history. So, talk about that a little bit. We're talking about Berkeley in Massachusetts.
That's correct. Berkeley College of Music. So Berkeley, Berklee.
Yeah, not Ley, California.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Berkeley in Massachusetts.
Yes.
So you wind up there, which is hard to get into, I can only assume, right?
I went. I think what I did when I decided to do that, initially I was going to go for musical theater and go after something like that. And instead, after I did that 5-week program, I realized I wanted to be like a performer and it didn't have to be on stage as a musical theater performer. It was, I wanted to write my own music or play music that made me really feel what it was that I was singing. So Berkeley was up in Boston. I went there in '97, and then met this guy in '99. Right. So 1999. Yeah. That's
how we met. Its own fun story.
Yeah. So I met a lot of people that are incredibly talented people. At Berkeley, and that is a lot of what Berkeley provides. It's not just about the education that you find there. The networking that's at Berkeley is as much or even more important than even like the classes. I know that's so bad to say. But you meet a lot of really talented people, and the amount of performing that you can do and the amount of networking that you can do is truly what makes that experience that much more.
Yeah. So you're 99, he comes to Berkeley, Eric, you come to Berkeley, and you guys meet. And when did you guys start playing music together?
Actually, do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, I should probably start with how we first met. Do you want me to start there?
Well, yeah. So that's actually no. It actually leads me to think: was it romance and then music, or was it music then romance?
Basically the story we always tell is the actual first time that we met was in the cafeteria. There wasn't very many people in there. It was my friend Kelly, this guy. Yeah. And Julie and her friend Candace were sitting behind us. And all of a sudden I hear this really convincing, I think it was a monkey sound or dolphin sound. And I turned around and I looked directly at her and I'm like, was that you?
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And then I turned back around and I heard it again. And I turned, I'm like, that's you, isn't it? Fast forward, Kelly and I ended up just sitting with them. I didn't talk much.
Right.
He had long hair back then.
Yeah.
And that was like, I didn't really pay attention because long hair, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm more of a shaved head.
Right. Well, that's a good thing considering where we're at now. Yeah.
No.
The second time we met, though, it was the beginning of the next semester, and our friend Taylor, I was sitting with him in the cafeteria again.
Yeah.
And she walks in. It's the first day that she received her CDs that she had just recorded.
CDs. You remember CDs?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And she comes in, and we kind of talked for a little bit and she gave me one of her CDs for free.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford anything back then.
Right.
And I took that back to my dorm room and I listened to it. And I always remember that the song Internal Sky off of that was the first song. That's something about that song.
Yeah.
Like I could hear who Julie was and it struck me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that song struck me like that.
Yeah.
Until later on when we were, dating.
Yeah.
But then we went on our first date.
Yeah.
And probably a few weeks after that, the guitarist dropped out of a show she had to do.
I had 2 weeks.
That's when I came
before the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortuitous for you, my friend.
Yes.
I think I remember being nervous for that show.
Yeah.
I had a couple too many shots before.
Yeah, that
and
happens.
it snuck up on me, and I'm like, oh my god, a couple of
Yeah, you tried to calm your nerves, and sometimes we calm them a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I had to deal with that whole first show.
Yeah.
But he did great. I mean, he had 2 weeks to learn all the material, but we had been dating almost 6 or 7 months, maybe even almost a whole year before he started playing in Julie Schreiber band.
Yeah.
And but the Internal Sky, interestingly enough, was written in Interlochen Arts Camp. Like,
oh gosh, get back further. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when you think about it, I mean, your day job, right?
Yeah.
The sky was perfect. It was the perfect night sky with that little tiny sliver of a moon.
Yeah.
And I wrote that song thinking, okay, there's got to be someone out there for me that is going to complete me.
Yeah.
And that's when I wrote that song. And the fact that is the song that spoke to him,
Yeah. No, that's.
But you know what I'm talking about, that perfect night sky with the stars.
I know what you're talking about, period.
Little sliver of a moon.
Just, the power of music and the emotion of music.
Yeah.
And wow, that's a great story how that ultimately led to the strong connection that you two guys have even to this day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's really, thanks. That's
so
a really cool story.
We've been together for 25 years. It'll be 26 in November this coming year. So.
Yeah, God bless. Yeah, that's not easy to do. My wife and I will be 30 years this year, so I speak from experience.
It's about keeping, not to get into marriage.
Sure. No.
Like it's about just communicating and talking and living for that other person and them living for you.
Sure.
It keeps that.
And respecting one another.
Yeah.
And what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
Even as you evolve, because as humans evolve,
we do.
Our passions change.
Yes.
I didn't drink whiskey when I first started dating him because I wasn't 21 years old. But then, I hit a certain age and I started getting into whiskey.
Well, look, I think all of us can sit here and say, obviously there's a core of my element that is always going to be the same. But, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. I'm not the same person I was maybe even 5 years ago. Let alone, we're talking about 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but that's the beauty of it, right? Is that you grow and evolve and you change and there's give and take. And So, I think a lot of your fans, when they come to your shows, not all, but I think a lot do realize that not only is there a history of the two of you, but that the two of you have been married for a long time. And I'll just tell you that, as a fan, as a huge fan, I know you probably saw some of the episode I did with Mike Fitz, your bass player. I'm a big fan of you guys and what you do. But I think that is part of, when you go to see a Solo Federation show, the chemistry between the two of you, the fact that the two of you have been together a long time, anybody that does any kind of a deep dive on your history knows you came together through music. I think it adds to the fan experience when they see you guys live. You know, I don't know if you guys ever pick up on any of that from your fans, but there's a lot we're going to do here where I'm going to speak for your fans.
Well,
Yeah.
we've had a couple fans comment on that.
Yeah.
They like when we do that, and we like to do it. So
Yeah.
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 I like when she comes up to me and puts her head on my
being on stage
shoulder.
with him. I just, you know, anytime that I get to be on stage, but be on stage with the guy I've been with for, you know, more than half of my life.
Yeah.
It's pretty special.
He's pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
Humbly.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not bad. Yeah.
And he's pretty cute too.
Yeah.
So that makes it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny if you were to look at the video like of his first show with me.
Sure.
Poor guy was like so nervous, and at the time I remember he had like a Parker Fly guitar, which are these incredibly lightweight guitars, and he's a big guy, and he had this like very lightweight guitar, and he didn't know what to do, and you know, like as you know, talk about evolution and the way that we evolve as humans, like. Eric and I, the way we played when we first started playing is very, very, very different than where we are now, right?
Yeah.
And the more we play, the more comfortable we get on stage, and that's.
I think some people who saw you in the Julie Schreiber band many years ago are like, they're like, I didn't realize she could sing Rush.
Right. You know? Right. Yeah. Well, so that's a good actually a spot for us to jump into the Julie Schreiber band because I know you guys played together in that. Before Solar Federation. So that was more based in and around the Harrisburg area, correct?
Yeah, we played other places. So we played in Philly, we played in Pittsburgh, we ventured to Maryland as well. I mean, it was just the two of us for the most part. And there was a point in time where we had band members, and there were many throughout the years. We started as an acoustic duo type of thing, and then we did have, you know, because we moved down and we didn't have a band at the time. But we played with some fantastic drummers and bassists. We went through a lot of drummers and bassists. But luckily, the area has a tremendous amount of talent. And I think our last drummer was Mel Torres, who plays with a couple other bands now. And then our bassist was Mike Pastoriello, who is an incredible bassist. I think he's also in the Wild Hymns. I think he might still.
Mike.
We miss Mike. Yeah.
He was in Wayne Super Genius.
Yeah, he was in Wayne Super Genius.
I think there's another band he's in right now.
Yeah, Wild Hymns.
Wild Hymns. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so super talented people that we played with, and we've been very blessed because of the fact that we've played with so many people. So I think. For us, it was tough. Playing your own music is tough. Sure. And we had to put a lot of like other cover songs to get people in the building. So it was just, you know, you play your own tunes. Sometimes you do well and sometimes you don't. And, you know, we knew that it was time to kind of stop focusing on the Julie Schreiber band around 2000, I think, 12 or 2014. We kind of didn't play as much as we used to.
Well, you, I think she was getting busier with her
day job.
Sure.
Day jobs take up a lot of time.
I was kind of like just teaching full time.
Yeah.
And she was doing her day job, and we were doing that for a while, playing here and there.
Yeah.
You know, and then Solar Federation.
Yeah, which comes to a fortuitous meeting. And by the way, and then there was one. And I have already gone back and forth a little bit with Fedge and Solar Federation fans. I'm already talking to Fedge. He's going to be on an episode coming up. But that leads to a fortuitous. Wasn't it just like a part? I think you knew. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You knew Fedge a little bit, then you ran into him at a party. Fedge, of course, being the drummer. So.
Actually, so Fedge, his band Herbie, played around the area quite a bit.
Fedge's last name being Herb, right? Yeah.
Wasn't. That was just. That's just.
Okay.
That's just. No, we'll let him tell the story.
Okay.
That's just.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Herbie and Julie Schreiber band played a show together at the Appalachian Brewing Company for New Year's Eve celebration. And actually, at the time, Barry Salem was our drummer at that time, and that was like. I think. Pretty soon after, we had a friend who actually we were at his house yesterday, Mike Waskovich, who also has a production studio called MDW Productions. He was having like a housewarming party. And so we came to his housewarming party and officially met Fedge. So we had just played on stages together, but we didn't really know him that well.
But I think, and Fedge may correct this if I'm wrong, but I had a school, the Perfect Fifth, which still exists, but a couple friends and teachers run it now. But I needed a drummer to fill in on something in a pinch. Fedge came in.
Yeah, boom.
I mean, he could, and I remember playing with him. I was just like, hey, you want to jam on like I think it was Free Will or one of those Limelight, and I could see Fedge, like he didn't have like every detail like he does now of the drum part, but he was just like winging stuff, and I was like, that to me is a sign of a really good drummer, like who can just kind of wing Rush and it sounds great.
Fedge has a tremendous amount of finesse. You know, he's not just bashing on the drums. There's a lot of nuance to his playing, and that's I think a lot of when you see a lot of different bands trying to tackle the challenging music of Rush, you'll see some drummers that just play it and don't actually feel it and have that nuance, and that nuance really kind of takes it to that next level, and I think that but to make a very long story short, that it wasn't a very long story, but we basically met Fedge at that party. And
a tiny bit more backstory to that.
We don't need to go into it.
Hey, we've got all the time in the world, you know?
I'll make it quick though. I remember.
Trust me, Soul Federation fans, they want to know all this stuff. So do it,
Back in 2011 was the Time Machine tour. And I hadn't seen Rush for a little bit because the last time I saw them was the Test for Echo tour, and then
late 90s,
after that is when Neil's family, his daughter,
and his wife both passed away.
And so they hadn't played for quite a while.
Hadn't done anything,
and our cousin Jason was like, "Hey, you want to come to? Where was it?
Oh, we went to. This wasn't after
Jones Beach Amphitheater,
right? But that was after Snakes and Arrows.
Yes, but
it was in 2010 and 2000. It was 2009, 2010.
Time Machine.
Time Machine.
It was Machine Jones. Was 2011, I think.
I think he's right.
It's 10 and 11.
10 and 11.
Okay. It was 2 years. But it was Jones Beach, New York. Do not question your wife.
I love it.
No, it was Jones Beach, New York.
Well, because all the Rush fans are going, they're watching this going.
I thought it was 9 in 2010, but you're probably right. It was definitely one of. I know it was 2000.
For me, I saw that tour in 2011. So I'll fall with you.
Okay, so 2010, 2011.
Yeah,
that's my favorite tour other than R40. But that tour, seeing them, it was like it reignited this spark in me, and that really is what ultimately led to me like saying, "Hey, Fedge had thought about it for a while, but that is kind of I started to put it out there in the world that I wanted to."
And we played Rush in as Julie Schreiber band. We played Free Will, Limelight, Tom Sawyer. We didn't play it as if a tribute band were playing it. We just played it as a cover band, and we tackled it.
They're one of the few bands that like really like resonated and like aged like fine wine in my mind, and I didn't realize that till after that tour.
Well, speaking, my personal experience with Rush is, I was a fan from when I was a young kid. However, my appreciation, I think I speak for a lot of Rush fans when I say this, as I got older, my appreciation for, in other words, when I was a kid, I just thought they sounded cool. As I got older and I really started doing a deeper dive into the lyrics, and I became a little bit more astute, even though I'm not a musician myself, into the musicianship that was going on. Like, as I got older, I got this greater and greater and greater appreciation from going from where, I like Rush, they're a band, I've got their music and I dig them, and they're one of 10 posters I have on the wall in my bedroom too. This might be the greatest band in the history of rock music. So that kind of came with age. like you said, they aged very well. And
Yeah.
you heard that with your ears too
I
as you
think
got
it's
older.
the sincerity in their music because what really, what people really remember, in my opinion, from a show or from seeing a band, is how you're affected emotionally by that music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yeah.
that to me is
Yeah.
And I think also the lyrics of Rush
Yeah.
are so completely different
Right.
than any other
Anything
band.
else.
That complexity and that aging with fine wine
Yeah.
is true about Rush, because when you read the lyrics from Hold Your Fire in 1987 when it first came out,
Yeah.
you were, maybe 10, 20,
Sure.
20 years
Yeah.
old, whatever it
Right.
might have been, right? And it has a very different feel than, like, now I'm at a certain age and
Yeah.
I'm reading the lyrics of Hold Your
Yeah.
Fire and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that album
Yeah.
is spectacular.
Yeah.
And it's every album
Yeah.
that you read. There's
Yeah.
almost a wish of mine that that they put out a book of just the lyrics.
Yeah.
Just because, while I know they have it on their their website and everything, I think that people just need to have that. And each album having its own little book with artwork.
Yeah.
I just think that there's something very special about
Yeah.
those lyrics. And
Yeah.
and I say Hold Your Fire because when I first heard that album, I only maybe really gravitated towards maybe one or two songs. And
Yeah.
the more I've listened to that
Yeah.
album, the more I've fallen in love with it.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
the lyrics are just, it's not about hey,
Yeah.
hey girl, hey.
Yeah, right.
It's not the
Yeah.
I love you, you
Yeah.
love me.
Right.
This is
Way
it's
beyond
just
that.
it's
Yeah. Well, the smile on my face because, I know you are preaching to the choir of Rush fans right now who view every record almost as if it's a separate novel or book.
it needs to be.
Yeah, and there's an ongoing theme with their music, but one of the things as fans that we always look forward to, when the new record came out, is A, what's it going to sound like? Because they went in a lot of different directions, but B, what does Neil have to say this time?
Yeah,
Can't
it's like
wait.
what is the theme?
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Like when I listen to Permanent Waves, that
Yeah.
entire album,
Right.
right? It's just beautiful.
Yeah,
And it's its own special little entity,
Yeah.
and every tune connects with one another, and that's why you can listen to it from start to finish and then just have it repeat itself.
Yeah.
And it flows very nicely.
Yeah.
I find that I like to read the lyrics to my parents, who
Yeah.
for some reason, I think my dad was really into Led Zeppelin and Neil Young and didn't really get into Rush.
Yeah.
And as we've been in Solar Federation, he's now like, wow, I'm so stupid I didn't listen to Rush back in the day.
Yeah.
But I will sit in the backyard with him and just read the lyrics.
Read
for him.
Entre Nous.
Entre, or I read A Farewell to Kings,
Right,
the
yeah,
lyrics
sure.
of A Farewell to Kings,
Yeah.
and it's
I'd
just
love to see her do a series where she just is reading and maybe even kind of describing what the lyrics mean.
I think that Getty should do that, not me.
Well, yeah. I would say this, though. It's almost... There was a podcast I recently went through, and two of the actors from The Sopranos went through, and they basically went through every episode. They did a podcast episode that was, married to the Sopranos episode.
Yeah.
Eric, you're onto something. Julie, I could see you doing either entire records or just songs. And there would be an audience for it. You'd think there isn't, but there is.
Well, when I learn the lyrics to the songs, some people learn just the melody and aren't really focusing on the lyrics. And I'm not saying that there are many people like that, but there are some people that focus on the melody only.
Sure.
I really want to internalize those lyrics as much as I possibly can.
Well, and I think memorizing them like she does.
Yes.
That is the way, because if you look at religions, like the prayers of Buddhism, Christianity, all those, they basically memorize those
Mantras.
and recite them all over and over again.
Yeah.
And then you internalize it,
Yeah.
and they have an effect on you.
Yeah.
I think that you're connecting
This is
Rush
the Rush.
to
This is
Rush,
the Rush.
Well,
Rush religion.
There is a spiritual element
There
to
is,
it. There
there
is
is,
no
yeah.
doubt. And you guys do a great job
Yeah.
of capturing that when you deliver the
Yeah.
material. So you knew that Fedge was interested in doing something. So
Yeah.
when did you, and I believe I have the dots connected correctly, but in terms of Solar Federation, Eric, you were involved first
Yes.
before Julie,
Yes.
correct? Okay. So
I tried to hitch my ride on that early, and Fed was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not." At the time, he didn't know.
Well, it's
Yeah.
kind of. I think that I didn't think you'd be interested.
Yeah.
You know, because you were doing your job, and I think that it was like a progressive rock band. I didn't know if you.
Yeah.
So I think we just assumed.
Yeah.
We had no problem being female fronted.
Right.
But explain the other band members that were part of that at the time, because we didn't. Our first Solar Federation show wasn't until September 19th, 2015. So
Okay.
this year is going to be our 10-year anniversary
Right.
of our very first show.
Right. And you rehearsed for quite a while before you took it.
A year.
Well,
Yeah.
we actually have a shirt that we're gonna put out later this year that's specifically for their 10th anniversary.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah. So you get together with Fedge. There are some other different members, and you're working up this band.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Fedge and I, kind of got it together,
Yeah.
and Fedge asked Mike, and he also asked Joey. Yeah, Joey.
Yeah.
And also Jason Dreyer.
Mhm.
Jason Dreyer was the singer.
Mhm.
And so we got together, learned 3 or 4 songs, and I think the beginning of 2112 was one of those first
Sure.
few songs we learned, and that's kind of why we went with Solar Federation, because it sounded cool.
Yeah.
It was a part of
Yeah.
one of the first songs, that I think
That you learned.
Fedge maybe felt it would resonate,
Mhm.
and it was just a different name than
Mhm.
had been normally used
Sure.
for tribute bands.
So just hemispheres.
Yeah. Or
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
Farewell
we,
Kings.
we got
Yeah,
together for
yeah.
that first thing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then we got together for the second one. And I think that Jason, I think his schedule was too busy. So one of the practices, I was like, "Hey Julie, do you want to fill in?" For
I
this
just
practice?"
wanted to meet Mike Bitts. That's really all
And-
it was.
and
It had nothing to do
She
with
found out that Mike
The
Bitts
Innocence
was
Mission. Let me guess.
It was all about the Innocence
Yeah,
Mission.
sure.
I remember that song, Yellow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that was-
Bright
that
as
was-
Yellow.
That was their biggest
Yeah.
song. It
Yeah.
got radio airplay. And yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know.
He
what
humored,
Innocence
Mike
Mission
humored
was.
me one year. He actually played that song with me. It was pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Oh yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
That was
Anyways,
your chance to be fangirl.
yeah, just a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so I wanted to meet Mike, and I knew a few songs because of Julie Shriver Band, and so at the time we played, what was it, Limelight, Tom Sawyer. I knew those two.
Did we do Free Will?
And I asked to do Free Will, and you guys hadn't learned it yet. You knew basics of it, but
Yeah.
not like So at the time, I was just playing just to kind of help out because Jason couldn't make it to band
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
And
So you were a placeholder for
just
for
a placeholder,
practice.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
they decided to ask me if I'd be interested in doing some of the songs, and then Jason would do some of the others. And then I think
Julie did such a great job.
Yeah.
And she seemed like she had the time in her schedule. So
Yeah.
she went upstairs for something. This is at Fedge's house.
Yeah.
It's-
it's
You all
the
kind of looked at each
basement.
other.
We're all in the basement.
Yeah.
It's like
And Mike Bitts turns and looks at Fedge and he's like, "Why don't we just have her sing?"
Yeah.
And then it's gone from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think Jason chose to focus on his family, which is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Family is always important.
Yeah.
And at the time, Solar Federation had me learn 2112 and some of the higher songs, anyways. And then they asked me if I'd be interested, and I was like, yeah.
But
Yeah.
we were a 5-piece originally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Mike had brought that up. That originally it was a 5-piece, but
But
yeah.
we went to. I kind of saw one of my students, Joe.
Mhm.
He was playing keyboards after Joey,
Mhm.
and I could tell his schedule was also getting
Yeah, it's
busier
hard.
and busier. He was
Yeah.
in college and stuff, and I knew that probably he was going to
Yeah.
need to focus
Yeah.
on that. So I was like, guys, we need to start looking at becoming a 4-piece. And
Yeah.
then that's
and
where we
Mike,
are now.
I
Yeah.
had no idea that Mike is. I mean, well, now I do,
Yeah.
but just as talented
Yeah.
in keys, if not like
Yeah.
he's just a beast
He's
in
a
every.
savant. Yeah, he's
He's just good in everything.
crazy good. Yeah.
I think we all noticed though that we have a good chemistry as a
Yeah.
band. We get
We get along.
we like playing with each other. We all get along, and we all show up to practice
Yeah.
with our stuff learned. It's more to just play together.
That's the point of like band practice is not meant to be when you.
It's not when you learn the song.
That's not when you learn the song.
Right.
That's when you like
Refine it.
hone and
Yeah.
refine it. Yeah. You don't come to band practice without knowing your parts.
Gotta do your
before you
homework.
get there. Yeah.
Do your homework. Don't show
We
up
don't-
without doing your homework.
We
yeah.
don't have time.
Yeah.
We're all busy people.
Yeah.
And at the same, that's how a professional does it. And I
Yeah.
think we all handled it in the same way. So when we come to band practice, every single one of us, if we're learning a new song, that next band practice, we have it learned
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much as possible.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of iron out those little
Yeah.
kinks that might, like how to end the song or how, that weird part in natural science, apple, apple, pineapple, apple, apple, pineapple.
Yeah.
That section.
I've never heard it phrased that way. I like that. Yeah.
It makes life.
I'm going dan 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 dan. That's what it is. In
Yeah,
my
but
head.
now
Yeah,
apple, apple, pineapple.
Yeah, yeah,
apple,
right.
Apple, pineapple.
Yeah,
It makes it. That's how I think of it in
Yeah.
my head
Oh yeah.
when I'm on stage, so I
Yeah.
don't come in on the
Yeah,
hot
you
spot.
don't commit. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you take Solo Federation out in 2015.
Yeah.
And what was the reaction initially? So at this point in time, Rush was not officially over, but a lot of the handwriting was on the wall.
Yeah.
What was the initial were the crowds good right away, or did that take some time to build? Or
Well, I think when a new Rush tribute band is born,
yeah,
a lot of Rush fans from the
oh yeah,
nearby areas,
yeah,
they wanted to come and see like what
Of
you're all
course.
about.
Yeah.
yeah.
So our first show was actually at Tellus 360. Was pretty well
Lancaster,
attended.
yeah,
our,
right.
our first show was our first show was well attended in September. I think it was like 250 people.
That's
which
good
isn't
for a
bad.
first show. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean that room is big.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
a big room.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think a lot of it was like family and friends who were like, because they know how long we have been practicing
Yeah.
in Veggie's basement to get those ironed
Right.
out. So a lot of it was that. The second show that we ever had, which was in March of 2016, is the one that you're talking about, where they had heard we had our first show, and this was now our second show.
Yeah.
And I think at that show we had like 400 or
Yeah.
so people, and it was very well attended, and people came in from very long distances, and we
Yeah.
were blown away by the response and the way people like told us how we were doing, and
Right.
there are some songs that we played at the beginning, and
We've gotten a little bit better.
we've
Yeah.
gotten a little better,
Right.
but at the same time I was singing Rush differently back then.
Yeah.
So, people who may have seen us play in our first 5 shows
Yeah.
will see a very different lead singer
Sure.
than they do now, simply because back then I used to hop constantly on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know how I kept my breath, but I would
Yeah.
constantly hop. I
Yeah.
don't know why, because I think that was the only way I knew how to dance
Well,
to
it-
Rush.
Yeah.
And then I sang differently. It was, as a vocalist, every vocalist has a certain point where they have to learn how to sing what it is that they're singing. And it gets better as you do it more,
Sure.
hopefully.
Yeah.
But for me, it was where I placed the sound of that vocal in the cavity of my head. And where I placed it has changed from
Yeah.
the very first time. So when I first started singing, I sang it, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I sang it more like a woman,
Yeah.
right? Where I had more vibrato.
Yeah.
And as I've been in the band longer, that has kind of been taken out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and that Indigo Girls influence
Yeah.
of my voice and Jewel
Jewel, I was gonna say
is pulled
Jewel.
out. It's
Yeah.
not there
Poured
anymore.
on blondes, yeah, yeah.
No, it's not there anymore.
Well, so being big fan that I am, and I read all of Neil's books. You were saying about how the band has evolved. Neil, he didn't like playing a lot of the really old songs and would kind of push back. They rarely ever butted heads, and this is according to Neil in his book. He wasn't down anymore playing Closer to the Heart. And they were playing a show in Brazil, the Rock in Rio show.
Oh, yeah.
And the other guy said, this song is the biggest song we've ever had in Brazil. We've got to play this song. And he kind of threw a little bit of a fit, but then calmed down. And what he said, his reasons behind that was that he felt as an artist and as a writer of the lyrics and as a drummer, he had progressed so far from where he was in his first inclination with Rush. To him, playing Closer to the Heart was like, you're now an artist and everybody wants you to stand and talk about a crayon drawing that you did in kindergarten that's on your mommy's fridge.
It's a great crayon drawing.
Yeah, it is a great crayon. But I could, and us as fans, I'm going, are you kidding me? Like, Fly By Night to some Rush fans, is the best record they ever did. And for him, it was like, I think any artist is that way. Like, I'm sure you guys, if you went back and watched some of the first things you did, if you went back, and it'd be cute, but if you went back and watched yourselves when you were 12 years old or at a talent show, it's a little cringe.
Yeah.
And I think that's, so I'll say this as a fan of you guys. My first show was 2018. I've seen you guys evolve, and it just keeps getting better and better.
Oh,
and I think that's reflected in the growth that you guys have had, in the feedback you're getting from fans, how you guys are doing on social media, everything. I saw you guys at Mickey's Black Box, which would have been last March.
Okay.
When Mike was on, we talked about this. I said, how was the load-in for that show? That was in March. That was one of the coldest nights of the winter.
Oh.
It was brutal that night. Well, it was super windy, super cold.
And it was really raining.
I'll tell you one thing. That was a very quick load-in.
That was a very fast load-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and coming into the show, it was sold out. There was a line out the door. So everybody's shivering and freezing to get in. Then you get in, and I thought it was so cool and so happy that, you guys have grown to the point where, you actually, like, not only do you have a t-shirt, but you've got several. And people are standing around your merch table like they were standing around a merch table that went to see Rush in 2015. So wow. But no, it's true. And that's a tribute to where you guys have come as you've continued to do the material. I'm not trying to say that you weren't always, first time I came and saw you guys, I would tell everybody who would listen, you got to go see Solar Federation if you even remotely like Rush. I dragged my wife. You've got to come see Solar Federation. They're that good. But, I think that's a credit to you guys in that, evolving is a good thing, right? And getting better. And
one of the things I think that's really special to us as a band is, seeing like Rush fans out in the audience or at the merch table and the excitement that they have, for Rush and that music. And it's just, I love that, like someone can come to a show, maybe they had a crappy week, and we just want to bring them to, I always use the term Rush La La Land. It's just that we're there, they feel like they're at a Rush concert, they're around Rush fans, and it just, they're feeling joy, and that makes us feel joy on stage.
Yeah.
And it's fun to play the songs.
There's a tremendous amount of a family-like atmosphere at our shows, and we try to really encourage that, because that is also the same way that it was at a Rush concert.
We also get compliments from venues on Rush fans.
Our Rush fans
Rush
fans are really pleasant, and venues really enjoy them because they're not aggressive. They don't, anyways, the whole point.
No, it's true. It's kind and polite.
Yeah,
it's almost that Canadian,
Canadian
even though we're not, but totally.
It's but what we try to do is, the whole point of why we do this is, especially when Rush decided to kind of, stop touring. And then with Neil's passing, especially, we knew that it was going to be, it's hard for Rush fans. They had so much community with other Rush fans, and we try to do that as much as possible in our shows. The whole point of why we do it is to keep that music alive. Yeah. It is challenging music. It is not easy to pull off on stage. And we do it because we love it just as much as the fans love it. And we want to keep it alive as much as possible so that the next generation can do the same thing and can continue it and way past the year 2112, right? Yeah. That is the point of why we do what we do.
Along those lines, I took my son to see a Rush show when he was 8 years old, Snakes and Arrows tour. And, through our mutual friend, Glenn Hamilton. Glenn, by the way, Glenn is the one that actually, talk about word of mouth. Our friend Glenn Hamilton from the River 97.3. He's the one that actually, knowing that I was a big Rush fan, said, "You've got to go see this band. They are, fantastic." So thank you, Glenn.
We love Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn's
awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. He's going to be on this show here.
Oh, fantastic!
Because he's a musician himself.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks of Glenn the DJ.
No, we used to play on stage with him.
Okay.
He's
a
actually
very good singer.
Really good singer.
Yeah.
He played and it was him, and then Eric and I in our band and the Badleys for a New Year's Eve celebration at the Whitaker Center.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that actually at the last Whitaker Center show that we had, and Glenn was backstage. But I remember that Glenn and I, we used to share the stage all the time.
Yeah, well, I saw Glenn at West Shore Theater last year, and he doesn't play all that much anymore.
It's a shame because he should play.
I know. This is my message to you, Glenn. You need to play a little bit more, but we'll work on that, especially when we get you here on the night shift. But at any rate, so my son, who's now 22, I brought him to see you guys at Inglewood, and as a fan, and I love hearing you say that because I don't want the message of this music or this music to ever die.
Yeah.
I want it to last far beyond our existence here, on this mortal coil.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be rewarding for you guys to when you do see maybe some younger fans that are in the crowd.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
A lot more female and younger.
Yeah.
Shows.
Yeah, and actually it was we met at, it was strange. We had we had the honor of playing at the Neil Peart Memorial in St. Catharines, Ontario.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and
October 22nd, 2022.
Yes.
So,
and
talk about that.
Interestingly enough, there was a young gentleman in the front row, and he was so excited about seeing and being there and being around all these Rush fans, and he had never actually gotten to see Rush in concert. And he happened to live in Bucks County.
Oh wow!
And so he had seen us at the at that event, and he was right in the front row. And then he came to see us play, and that is why we do it. Right. I don't want to be rich and famous from playing someone else's material. I just want to keep that music alive. Yeah. It's not about like how much money I can put in my pocket, because frankly, we didn't write these songs.
Right.
But the point is that Rush fans just there's such a life force in those lyrics and in that music, and I think it speaks volumes when you see the young people come to the show, and then they come to more than one show.
Yeah.
And that's why it's been really special to not just play in bars anymore.
Yeah.
We're playing venues that have the policy of allowing all ages, which is really nice because, again, that is the reason why we do it.
Yeah. And I think, not to speak for you, Eric, but one of the things that comes across, when you're on stage in the band in general, is that this music that we as fans, and I certainly count myself amongst them, it means so much to us, but as fans, we can tell that you guys hold it in your heart as well. It means that much to you as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just that respect for the material. And how hard do you? I mean, you've got to work all the time to get those parts correct.
Oh, he does.
It's not easy.
He does.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sweat equity put into that.
He puts a lot of time into it.
That kind of gets into something I noticed when I was a kid. I think it's because I come from a classical background where you're playing the music of the composers like they wrote it, not like putting your own original twist on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did that with Eddie Van Halen when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I had a knack for it, and so
Yeah.
I kind of noticed it when we were doing this band that
Yeah.
I love doing that. I
Right.
love like figuring out Alex Lifeson and how
Right.
he does what he does.
And it's not just about the notes. Eric doesn't just learn the notes. That's one thing.
Yeah.
That's one small fraction of what he does.
I wanted people to think they're listening to Alex.
Right.
I mean, you can't. I'm not Alex, so you can't.
Nobody can replicate anybody's tone.
Right.
Alex Lifeson couldn't replicate your tone. That's something that's unique to an individual. But I hear where you're coming from.
But
Yeah.
he spends months.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the Necromancer, it took 4 months for me to transcribe the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then recreate some of the
and it's
different
note for
effects
note
on
that
it.
he transcribes
But
it.
Alex is a lot. I mean, I can play like some Eddie Van Halen stuff, Steve Vai, those guys. Right. Alex is just as difficult. He's just maybe his focus is over here instead of over here.
Yeah.
He's very difficult to cover. I mean, he does a lot of whammy bar vibrato.
Yeah. So just even if I'm wrong, tell me I'm right, Eric.
Yes.
Alex Lifeson does not get nearly the credit he deserves as a guitar god.
That
You're
is
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
100% correct.
Because I always get frustrated, and I get it. Like, there's so many great guitarists. But anytime a list comes out of the top 10, and unfortunately a lot of times top 20, he doesn't get a sniff.
Oh.
And I think I think he is criminally. Part of it is because he's with arguably the greatest drummer of all time, arguably the greatest bass player of all time. So he becomes the third guy in a band of virtuoso musicians, and I don't think he's as hard. It sounds crazy to say that somebody in Rush, but I feel this way about Alex Lifeson. I don't feel he's ever gotten the credit he deserves as a guitar player. You're a guitar player. Tell me, agree with me, please.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
You listen back to like Working Man, for example. He shreds on that. My hand is like cramped, especially when Fetch is
right.
It's like
Speeding it up.
excited.
Yeah. It's a little up tempo. Yeah.
So, I mean, he shreds on that. But I
Yeah.
think what happened with Rush is their sound became a lot like very bass heavy and drum heavy,
Sure.
and
keys.
Getty
Keys in
and,
the 80s.
and
Certainly,
Getty and Neil were very notey, and Alex was like, I think I'll fit in here better.
Yeah.
So he went more with textures and
Fills.
very clever.
Yeah. Right.
And tone.
His
Tone.
It's the
rhythm,
tone.
his rhythm parts are very clever, and
Yeah.
he's not just going at any time. It's like one texture, and it's difficult. And I think he took a very what would you call that? Where
I don't want to say a back seat, but maybe he just kind of found his niche within the other two.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I could think of it.
Well, here's the thing. It's a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Being in a band is like being married.
Yeah.
And for them to have been a band for as long as they have,
Yeah.
the same three humans,
Yeah.
is a testament to the fact that they fit in puzzle pieces in the right way
Yeah.
to complement and encourage, like, the strengths of other band members.
Sure. Give and take.
Right. There's a balance,
Yeah.
and having three people to balance is tough.
Yeah.
I got the word.
Yeah.
Or words. He took one for the team. Getty actually, I think, in a recent interview, mentioned that.
Yeah.
So I think Alex is very noble.
Yeah.
We'll say Alex is noble.
And also, Alex has a tremendous personality on stage.
Yes.
And that is also very evident. It's not just the fact that he played what seems to be very simple things.
Right.
Right? He had tremendous personality, a lot of joy when he played.
Yeah.
It's part of the same reason why Rush fans
Yeah.
like have that they're so the three of them were so authentically themselves.
Yes.
And I
You
think
stuck by it.
and I think
Yeah.
that when you're a band, authenticity is so important.
Yes.
Because if you're going to be a band for 10 years, for 20 years,
Mhm.
for 40 years,
Mhm.
you A, have to like the people around you,
Mhm.
and B, you have to be as close to authentically yourself as
Yeah.
possible. The song Limelight is all about the authenticity of being on stage
Mhm.
and having to play a role that you're not comfortable with,
Right.
and how much of that role
Yeah.
and how much of yourself you let
Right.
others see when
Yeah.
you aren't one of those people,
Yeah.
right? As
Yeah.
a musician.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's that the three of them together
Sure.
balance one another and help the other team members out.
When Alex is not done properly, which is
All the time.
yeah,
I see it. Yeah.
it does not sound
Well,
very
it's-
much
it's-
like
yeah.
Rush.
It's
Like,
the
you miss
easiest.
him when he's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
People think it's the easiest part to fill
Yeah.
in that band,
Yeah.
and it really isn't.
No.
So it's
Yeah.
every part in the band is tough.
Yeah.
Every part's difficult.
So, wanted to talk to you guys. You had an incredible opportunity when you did Witch Hunt and you did the video.
Yeah.
And I know this is something that Solar Federation fans and Rush fans will be very interested to hear about. You got to work with some names in the history of Rush, that are legendary, and you got to work with them.
Yeah.
So talk about you got to work with Hugh and
So our friend Steve Brown from Rushfest Scotland, we had gone to Rushfest Scotland, Eric and I, for our 20-year anniversary
Was
of
Scotland
being
in
married.
general?
We went to
Yeah.
Scotland for our 20-year anniversary,
Timed it.
and we
Yeah.
timed it to coincide
right.
with Rushfest Scotland. And at that point in time, Steve allowed us to. He and the VIPs met us in the Highlands of Scotland,
Mhm.
and we went and did whiskey tours and
Mhm.
stuff like that with Hugh Syme
Yeah.
and Judy and Nancy Peart, and we got to really get to know and Martine, and we really got to know Hugh very well through that.
Yeah.
And Steve Brown every year has since Neil's passing, has a Songs for Neil, which is like a compilation of other Rush tribute bands doing versions of Rush, and all of the money goes to charity.
Yeah.
And Steve had asked us to do a version of Witch Hunt, and we wanted to do it justice
Yeah.
because Steve remembered seeing us at the St. Catherine's show, and he remembered the note,
Yeah.
which I'll tell a story about the note, but later.
I know what you mean, but yeah.
But
Yeah,
what had happened was, we at the time when we were in Scotland, I had made a comment to Hugh, like, "Hey Hugh, you want to possibly play on one of our songs?"
Yeah.
He was the original keyboardist on Witch Hunt,
Right.
on Moving Pictures, and Terry Brown was also part of that Rushfest Scotland at the time, and we got to also know Terry.
Yeah.
Both very sweet individuals, very brilliant.
Yeah.
And Eric got their information when we came home. We kept in touch, and we still do keep in touch with both. And when the opportunity came in for us to do Witch Hunt, we were like, let's do it the way we really should. Let's just ask. And if they say no, it's okay.
They say no. Yeah.
They say no. That's, what Hugh did with the textures of that keyboard part, and that beginning part being so eerie and creepy, and there's like this little kid piano at the beginning, and what Hugh did to kind of make it a unique version was really special. And we recorded it. We recorded our parts, each of us separately, at Mike Waskovich's studio, MDW Productions. And Mike engineered everything. So we got everything ready. And Mike then worked with Terry to find out how Terry needed all of the parts so that Terry could take everything and mix it down. I give it to this guy here. Eric worked really hard to make that happen.
Yeah.
And he worked really, really hard to connect Hugh and Terry with our band
Yeah.
to make it all possible.
I wanted it to be like one foot in the past, one in the future, and where basically it sounds like the song. You kind of think you're listening to the song, but there's a few different elements to it that make it different, you know. And then because we're not Rush, so it's going to sound different by the time we're done, anyways. And you know, Julie has a slightly different take than Getty on it. So I was like, you know, I do want it to sound very familiar.
Yeah.
And like Hugh and Terry just absolutely nailed that. It's like, they are who they are for a reason.
For a reason, yeah.
The talent with those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when I knew that. Again, I think it was Glenn. I knew that you guys were working on it, and when he told me that you were working with Hugh Syme and Terry Brown, I was like, I mean, as fans, it's like, man, people, Rush fans are so passionate that even just to get to meet them in passing and say a few words to them would be, but to actually get to work with them, I mean, that's. I don't know you guys appreciate it, but wow, what an experience and a privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both legends.
Yeah.
And Hugh is not just a musician; he's also an artist, which is
Right.
how most people
Legit.
know.
How they know.
That's
yeah,
how
right.
most people know Hugh, because he did all of the artwork from 1975's Corrosive Steel until, and he's still doing the artwork for many of their books and gift sets and everything.
Yeah.
He actually crafted the new Solar Federation logo that we have.
Right.
And he did a special rendition of our logo for the 2112 concert that we just had at the Whitaker Center. Yeah.
Right.
And like the shirt and the logo is so cool.
Yeah.
He did the same kind of cool thing where it's like
one foot in the past, 1 foot.
Yeah.
It kind of implies the album cover, but is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very cool.
Yeah.
We're really careful to not, other than we're tributing songs, but with imagery, I don't want to like exploit Rush and like logos and stuff like that.
Sure.
I want to be respectful of that.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll say what I hope you know, and I'll say it for the fans out there. The mere fact that not only did you forge a relationship with Hugh and Terry, but then you went on to work with them. The fact that you got on their radar by what you do, if they saw you at the tribute to Neil, I'll just tell you guys, that speaks to what you're doing, how good you are, how it's appreciated by the Rush community when you get to work with people like Hugh and Terry. If you haven't told yourselves this already, I'm going to tell you guys right now, what you're doing is fantastic.
Thank you.
And, other people see it as well, and other people recognize it, and are. I hope you feel. I said the same thing to Mike when he was here. I said, I hope you when you're on stage, I hope you're getting back. I hope you're getting that back from the crowd.
We do
when you're there. The appreciation that the fans have for not only you guys doing this, but doing it with the passion and the care and the respect for the material.
We purposely take it very seriously when we go on that stage. We're not gonna perform a song unless it's to that as close to perfection as possible.
We can do,
right? I'm not gonna just learn the material 2 days before I get on stage. I'm not gonna, and I mean no disrespect, but the way that I am as a singer, I have to internalize those lyrics.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on stage and not have that done.
Yeah.
Like that is my job, and I carry my little microphone, and that's my one thing: my microphone and this memory bank, right? And so when we perform on stage, we take it very seriously, and we take it very seriously because we know people are paying to see us. The music is difficult. We don't drink we don't drink during a show. You can't physically do that, right? And we make sure to thank as many humans as possible that come to see us because if not, we'd just be playing in Fedge's basement.
Yeah.
A couple things that make me take it very seriously also are that I know people are driving quite a distance and taking a lot of time out of their day, and they're very excited to hear Rush played.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm at least 2 or 3 weeks before a concert, I'm practicing the crap out of those songs.
We had someone drive all the way from like the middle of Illinois. It was like 1,500 miles going like the both ways altogether.
Yeah.
It's just,
I don't want to let
we don't want to let that person down,
sure.
you know?
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, regardless of who we worked with or played with, right? I think we would still approach it the same way because I think what Rush did is the same thing. They didn't go on that stage and half-ass it.
Well, and you guys know there's it's like, Pete Rose said, why did he always sprint to first base? Because there was always somebody there in that crowd that was seeing him for the very first time.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, there's every show you guys do, there's somebody that's there via word of mouth that's seeing you guys for the first time. We had the guys from Get Petty on to do the Tom Petty tribute act, an episode here on the Night Shift, and that's one of the things I brought up to them too was like, obviously you've got the Rush fan base and it sucks, we hate it, but in the same case with Tom Petty, I think one of the things too why people are responding in the way they do to what you guys are doing and keeping the music alive is because as we sit here right now, obviously there will never be a Rush with, the 3 guys anymore. I don't think. I could see maybe Alex and Getty maybe doing a one-off here and there, but, for all intents and purposes, as much as it breaks our hearts, Rush as a touring band is no longer.
Yeah. So,
I think it's great, and it helps a lot that you guys are out there doing what you do. And, like I said earlier, the respect. And you mentioned earlier, Julie, Rush fans will, I know it, to those that aren't Rush fans, and look, I get it. 90% of the people that are watching this are Rush fans. But there is a spiritual element to Rush fans being together and that material.
Yeah.
And it is really a fellowship in a way.
Yeah. I think that's what that's why for us as a Rush tribute band, I'm not competing with any other Rush tribute band. I encourage anybody to try to tackle this music because it's not easy, and any person who does try to take this music on and do it justice understands that there is a tremendous amount of practice and diligence. And you have to really love the music. And if you don't, it comes across in your performance. Yeah. It comes across in how well you learn the material. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not competing with any other Rush singer. It doesn't matter to me because, to be honest, I have to be better than what I did the last show, right? That's who I'm competing with. Yeah. I'm competing with myself and what I did the last time I was on stage.
Plus, I think we realized that,
we're not going to go
Rush tribute bands. It's like a nice, healthy ecosystem where, Rush fans can travel to all the different bands. Yeah.
But I hate the hate that you sometimes can see with it. It's not about that. No. It's not about which tribute band is better. It's about every single one is like, are they trying to just keep the music alive or are they trying to make a buck? Right?
Yeah.
I think that is really, like, the band has to love it.
Yeah.
And the Rush fans love it. The people who come to see these shows love it. And
they get to see each other.
And the point is to keep the point is to keep the music alive.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
We have our own music.
There are people I know a little bit, over the years, that I can count on seeing at your shows. I look forward to seeing your shows. And it's always like, here we are, right? So I got to put you guys on the spot a little bit here before we wrap up. And I did the same thing to Mike. So you both are going to have to give me and this could either be your personal favorites or the ones you like performing. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I need both of you to give me We'll go back and forth so you have time to think. Your Mount Rushmore, your top 4, either favorite or that you like to perform, just your personal.
Okay.
As we sit here today, because I know it can change in a week
Yes.
as fans. But so Julie, we'll start with you, but I'm going to ask you both for top 4 Rush songs, and Julie, you're first.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say Free Will.
Free Will.
I love performing that song.
Yeah.
It is again the song that I asked the guys to learn first when I joined, and it's because there's just the way that the crowd reacts, but the lyrics,
Yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah.
Love that song.
Really quick, and I won't do this for every answer
Yeah.
because I could, but just recently in our election cycle, a person that I work with, I'm not big into talking politics in general, and I'm not big into talking politics around the office, but I had a coworker say to me, gosh, I kind of feel bad because I didn't vote yesterday, and the reason why I didn't vote is because I'm just kind of disaffected by the whole process, and I'm just kind of, my heart's broken over the whole thing. And I looked at my coworker and I said, it's okay, you know why? Because if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. So yeah,
That's
and they
right.
looked at me and they
Very
went,
true.
oh, that's very prophetic, Steve. They have no idea. Like this 22-year-old girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you should bring her to a Solar Federation show.
She looked at me like, oh, you're like a prophet. Like, no, actually, it's Neil Peart. But anyway. So yeah, Eric, go ahead.
And you pronounced his last name right.
Well, any fan
Peart.
knows it's Peart, not
Yes.
Hurt. Yeah,
Yes.
but anyway, yeah.
So 4, I would definitely say Digital Man. It's one of my favorites. to perform.
Just say one for right now. Just do
Yeah,
one.
there's one for now. Yeah.
Digital Man would be one of my favorites. It's just a fun song.
Yeah.
The solo's fun.
Quick and to the point.
The tone.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just love playing that song.
Yeah. Julie.
All right, Witch Hunt. And we play it almost every show.
Mhm.
But the lyrics are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's xenophobia still
Yeah.
exists,
Yeah.
and it's an important thing for us to not forget the message of that song, and I love that that we can perform that every time on stage.
Yeah. Well, pretty much. I mean,
They didn't play
That's-
that song as much though as you
Yeah.
think they did.
well, in the later tours,
Yes.
they really started playing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was out of the set for
Quite some time.
quite some time.
I think it came back
Yeah.
during the Time Machine tour, and then they
Yeah.
kept it. But
And they kept
but
it. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's a great song. to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. Absolutely.
New World Man.
You're sticking with signals, dude.
Well, just for this song.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I love the clean tone and the construction of his parts in
Yeah.
that song.
Yeah.
Just another cool song.
Yeah. Julie.
2112.
Mm.
It's like a rock opera.
Yeah.
And as a musical theater person, performing that song, like when I first started learning the entirety of it,
Mhm.
I said to Eric, I was like, do you think it would be okay if I like changed outfits through it and did, like maybe I acted through it? And he was like, yeah, no, Julie, I think you should just perform this
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to me, there's so much emotion in that song.
That's
And
a
what it
scary
stands-
song.
And what it
Mm.
stands for,
Sure.
that oppression
Yeah.
of a society.
Yeah. Yeah. It's as
Yeah.
it's as poignant now as it was when Neil wrote it in
That's correct.
1976.
Yep.
So
That's a
yeah.
scary song to start because you're like, okay, we're
20
committed
minutes
for the
in.
next
Yeah.
20 minutes.
20
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
And,
Like,
it's
and-
a lot of
and-
notes and a lot
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
And a lot of high notes too at the end.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fun though. Like,
Yeah.
It's great.
And when it's over, I mean, we in the crowd just go
It-
berserk.
Yeah.
We
It's
love it so much,
it's
yeah.
a tough song because I don't know how many solos do you have in that song.
I think there's 4.
I was going to throw out 4, but yeah.
There
Like
might
the
be more than that,
Necromancer
and that's
has
Yeah,
4 too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all uniquely different.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So 3, Eric?
Number 3.
Yeah.
I'll say that La Villa Strangiato.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a challenge to play
Yeah.
that song. It's
His tone is so good on that song.
Yeah.
When you play it, Eric,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
you close your eyes and
Yeah.
it's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. You and Mike together, and Fedge, obviously. But
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys absolutely that is the separate. If you're even if you just a cover band who does whatever, anybody who I've ever seen, as soon as I see they're going to try to take that on, I go, okay. As a fan, I go, you're going to play La Villa? Yeah, I got to. So it's one of those songs that if you play it and you play it well, it really impresses people.
I don't have blood pressure issues, but I think when I have to play that song,
Yeah.
my blood pressure goes up.
Yeah. It'd be
Yeah.
funny to have you wired up to the EKG and see you as how you,
Yeah.
you go
Yeah.
during the set. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, last one, Julie.
This is really hard.
Yeah.
Marathon.
Love the lyrics of that song.
So again, if you noticed the ones I picked,
Yeah.
it's all about the lyrics.
Yeah.
And the lyrics, it's like that moment in that wherever it's placed in our set, where I take a deep breath because I have to,
Yeah.
but also because of what it represents. That life is not a sprint,
Yeah.
and hopefully it's not a sprint. Hopefully it's a long marathon. So you're way in your 90s, and you get to enjoy every era of your
Sure.
life. But that's what I love about that song.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Last one, Eric.
I was almost going to say Subdivisions,
Mhm.
but I think I'm going to also go with Marathon.
Yeah.
Subdivisions, I didn't want to put another signal.
Yeah. Right.
I realized
The
that.
other one for me was going to be A Farewell to Kings, which he like talk about jittery.
I just love that first riff of
Marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so like majestic.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just perfect.
Yeah.
That
It's just
song
a-
is great.
Yeah.
Beautiful song. The tone is really lush. It's got all these different parts.
Yeah.
Solo's fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, just as a fan, Julie, I'll just tell you, and I hope you feel this way too. Again, not to say that, what you do doesn't lend itself to all the material, but the way you do that song, I think you put your own unique spin on it. But, for me, when I see you guys live, and I'm not just saying this because you both said it, this is one of my favorite songs to see you guys do.
Oh, Marathon?
Yeah, because it's a little bit of a deeper cut.
Yeah.
Not that Rush
That
did it
album
from time
is
to
so
time.
Power Windows is so good.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a starting point for a lot of Rush fans, especially a lot of Rush fans
1985,
my age,
Yeah.
because it was kind of the MTV era, and a lot of those videos wound up on MTV.
Yeah,
so,
that song is just
Yeah.
it's a special song, and that was one of the songs that we got to play at in St. Catharines.
yeah,
And in that venue, oh my God, the
Yeah.
chills!
yeah,
Like it went up my arms and
Yeah.
through my whole body,
Yeah.
like this electricity
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
what it felt and meant to
Yeah.
be on that stage playing
Yeah.
that song. But it really is the message of that song is so important.
and some
know?
tough notes for you in that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, there are a lot of songs that are difficult to sing.
She actually
Surprising.
has the same vocal range
I-
almost as Getty.
Yeah.
I have a similar vocal range to
Yeah.
Getty. But actually, surprisingly enough, some of the songs that you wouldn't think are that difficult.
Yeah,
New World Man,
Yeah.
as an example.
yeah, because I would think that it's a little more flat, a little more, yeah,
There's no vibrato, but
Yeah.
if you've ever, like when we play it, we cover it, and it's the album version, right?
Right.
Where's the breath?
never thought
Right?
of it that way. I'm not a
Okay,
singer
so-
either. Yeah, right.
So where do I take a breath?
Yeah.
And you have to figure out where that is
yeah,
to the point where it doesn't take away when that note is supposed to be carried,
right.
right? And that's
Yeah.
tough. So
yeah.
it's not so much always about the note.
Yeah.
It's more about
Yeah,
where do you breathe,
right.
and so sometimes it's breath and sometimes it's note.
Yeah,
I think that the older stuff is the most challenging because people are used to like the Getty scream,
Sure. Yeah,
and that's Getty.
that's Getty.
I never want to be Getty. I
Right.
want to be myself
Right.
performing Getty.
Right.
But I don't want to
Yeah.
I'm not trying to copy him exactly.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
his enunciation of the words.
Right.
You know.
Right. Okay, so I call it the final four.
Yeah.
These are the last four questions that you're going to get.
Yep.
And I always start with the first question being your favorite. You got to pick one. Your favorite. We already done Mount Rushmore. We don't get to do four.
Yep.
But your favorite band or artist of all time. You get to pick one. I know it's hard. Eric has the benefit here of being able to sit and think about his
Oh God,
answer.
it's me
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
I actually am going to say Rush. I am going to say Rush. I listen to a lot of bands, but as I've gotten older, it's definitely put Rush on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also say Rush.
Yeah.
They're just such a part of our life.
Yeah. How about it?
Van
Yeah.
Halen would be second.
Yeah.
To me, like the second one for me would probably be either the Beatles or Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but or Heart. God,
Yeah.
there's too many bands.
Yeah.
No, but Rush. I think it's hands down Rush for me.
Yeah.
Just the impact.
Yeah. It's funny you should say Heart because.
Ann Wilson, her voice, Jesus.
I know.
You could do an entire show on just her voice.
I know. And I could, trust me,
Yeah.
I could. I love Heart. But, what's the one song, Julie, that you wish you would have written?
Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's the one song.
No.
And see what happens is I ask these questions, and you're going to be in the car driving home from this, and you're going to go,
Oh
I should have said, I can't believe I didn't say, yeah. So.
The Beatles song, In My Life,
Yeah.
I loved you more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just perfect.
Yeah.
It's just a perfectly written
You're
song.
not the first person to answer that question with a Beatles song. So,
Yeah, it's just, it's simple, but
Yeah.
yet so...
It's the secret sauce of the Beatles. They were quote unquote simple, although we both know that
Oh.
they weren't.
No.
But it's just they're the Beatles. What can you say? They're the Beatles.
Yeah.
Eric.
Oh man. This is kind of obscure, but I wish I'd written the Rain song.
Oh,
Led Zeppelin.
interesting. Yeah.
I think
It's a
that
beautiful
is
song.
the most sophisticated, beautiful song.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's stuff by Yes also.
Yeah.
But then I'd say with Rush, like Tom Sawyer would have been cool.
Yeah.
Limelight would have been
Yeah.
cool to write, but like, there's so many good music, so much good music out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just the emotional. I always go with emotion.
Yeah.
I'm an emotional human, and so
Yeah.
for me, it's the emotional song that always tugs at my heart. The simple, emotional tune is
Yeah.
what always resonates with
Most
me.
diehard music fans tend to, not always, but tend to be people that look at life with a lot of emotion, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, this does not have to be music, or it could be. You could have lunch with any one person, dead or alive. Who would it be, Julie? I should have cut you a break and asked Eric first.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
should.
Okay, Eric, here you go.
I would like to have lunch or dinner with Alex.
Mm.
I think he seems like a very fun,
Yeah.
nice guy.
Yeah.
We would enjoy food and wine.
Yeah.
And talk about some guitar stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd probably want to know what else he does.
Yeah,
I'd probably pick his brain about gear too, like
Yeah.
vintage gear.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because some of the Rush concert DVDs and some of the things that they've done, after they would take their break and go away from each other for a long time, they had a tendency to get together as a band, and that's kind of how they got the machine back fired up. Is they would go somewhere and like just the three of them and rent the upper floor of a restaurant and have some really good food and drink some really good wine and laugh and tell stories.
They were
and,
actually friends.
Yeah, they were actually friends, especially after they spent 9 months away from each other. Yeah. After being on the road can be being on the road sometimes.
The fact that Alex and Geddy are still like best friends to
Yes.
this day.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the reasons why Rush fans love them so much is because we know that they had an affinity for each other. So
They're good examples
Yeah,
as
they're
human
example of
beings.
Human beings, yeah.
Yeah, and just
Got
to
it.
stick with something.
Yeah, loyalty and how to treat your friends. Yeah. Okay, Julie.
Oh my God! Letting me sit with this made it even worse. I'm a woman. I
Yeah, right,
until
right.
I find the perfect one.
Right.
There's too many humans. I think for me, I don't know why I'm gravitating towards. I think I'd want to have lunch or dinner or even just a drink with FDR.
Interesting.
Or maybe his wife, Eleanor.
Yeah,
Just to get some. I just think that they'd be very interesting.
They certainly lived through an extraordinary period
Yeah.
in our history.
Yeah.
He certainly made some very pivotal decisions in our
Yeah.
history. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's
it's
what
good.
I think that's
Four
part of
terms.
Yeah,
that's part
right.
of the reason why I think I'd want
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
Eleanor or FDR. I
Yeah.
just think.
But she was extraordinary in her own right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think.
Yeah.
When FDR had polio as a kid,
Right.
Yeah.
he was in a wheelchair his entire presidency.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody. Well, very
No
few
one
people
would-
knew
Right. Back
because they were
then.
so careful about how they.
It was
how
before
they would-
MTV.
How they would shoot him. Yeah. It was prior to the MTV era.
But it goes
Yeah.
to show you, though,
Yeah.
that, if somebody's in a wheelchair or something like that,
Yeah.
that's not really that important to being the president.
Correct.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. This is a pretty easy one. Pretty straightforward. I might already know the answer from you, Julie, but I'll let you answer. Beatles or the Stones?
Beatles.
Beatles.
Beatles. Okay. That was pretty quick. from
I
both
like
you
the
guys.
Stones.
I like the
Oh, yeah.
Stones. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Everybody always says that. No matter which way they go, I do like the Beatles, but I'm a Stones guy.
And
Yeah.
what Paul McCartney and John Lennon had was the most magical thing.
Yeah.
And
How long it's
it's-
lasted.
yeah, and they weren't even a band that long when you think about it.
So they were together 7 years, maybe. Yeah. something
Yeah,
like that,
they weren't together for
Yeah.
that long, but what
Yeah.
they left
Yeah.
impacted
Yeah.
and inspired so many musicians.
Yeah.
Oasis wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, like there's
Sure.
like there's that's why. It's just
Yeah.
the Stones are phenomenal. And
Right.
Mick Jagger's got swagger up the hoo-ha.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
just
yeah,
got
yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
I think he should do it until he can't do it.
He can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that man. There's a reason why he is
I
as
just-
cool as he. It's like
I-
he's like Lenny Kravitz is also like
Oh yeah.
to me
Yeah.
like that same
That
Mick
same swagger,
Jagger
yeah,
swagger
sure,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Cool dude.
I saw the Stones on this past tour in Philly, and it's just, it's like, were the Stones at age 80 the greatest show I ever saw this past year? No. Was it arguably the most remarkable show I've ever seen? Yes.
Yeah.
Just because Jagger's the guy has not missed a beat. He's 80 years old.
his hips
It's-
still move
Yeah,
exactly
it's
the
insane.
That
Yeah.
band is part of history.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
seeing
It's
history.
insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It is very cool.
Yeah, it's almost like the pitcher who is still pitching at age 50, and you like, thank God for the Stones and Mick, because and look, McCartney's still doing it too at a very
Yeah.
high level, as is Ringo. But all of those guys are rewriting what it means, I think, to be old, and if it's still here and you can still do
Exactly.
it, yeah,
It's about the passion.
Yeah.
It's the same reason, like, I'm sure that Geddy and Alex would love to still play the music that they wrote together, because they still have a lot of passion for it. And, it's just, like, Paul McCartney
yeah,
moved and did his own thing, and, and
All those guys, like you see with Hugh and Terry,
yeah,
they love what they do.
yeah,
They're not going to stop.
right,
they're not
And
going
they're,
to stop.
they're
There's no
still
retiring.
sharp as tacks.
yeah,
There's no retirement
Yeah.
in music.
Right.
You can tell that they did it for passion
Yeah.
and the love of music.
Even if, like, Nico McBrain, right?
yeah, yeah.
He's not playing with Iron Maiden
Thank you
anymore.
for an Iron Maiden reference, Julie.
Yeah,
As a huge fan, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
he's not playing anymore.
But he's not retiring.
He's not physically retiring
Yeah,
from playing drums. He's just physically retiring from touring,
Touring.
which is a very different thing. Touring is not
yeah.
going on stage and
Yeah.
traveling and doing that. That's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy on the body. It's not
Yeah.
easy on the mind. It's not
Yeah.
easy on your
Sure.
family.
Yeah,
And so, you've got to respect that. It's
Yeah.
not about retiring so much as
Yeah.
like, I'm
Yeah.
sure Alex still plays.
Yeah.
He's just not touring
Right.
because it's tough.
it's tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough.
So,
Well, I know you guys, as we sit here and record this, I know you have a show coming up in
Yeah.
Wayne, Pennsylvania.
yes.
Which I
You
believe.
just read my mind. I was like,
Yeah.
I was going to say, should we?
Yeah.
118 North.
Which is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you've played that
No,
before.
we've never played
First
that.
time.
Yeah, it's a more intimate setting. It's not as big as like the Whitaker Center, which is
Okay.
what our last show was. And usually, like for our first show of the year, we always like to have our first show be kind of a small, intimate setting.
Yeah.
So that is our first show, March 1st, on Saturday in Wayne,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. I think tickets are on sale now. Show starts. It's at 9. It's at 9
A little later
p.m.
than normal.
Yeah. Show at 9, doors at 7.
Doors at I think 7:30 or something.
Okay.
Maybe more like
Yeah.
8.
But regardless, it
Yeah.
is it's a new venue. We're excited to play there. And then Eric.
We basically put out the call for Rush fans to come out because we want to show
Yeah.
them we want to show 118 like
Yeah.
what we're all about.
Yeah, and
Bush
then
fans.
Eric and I will actually be joining. I think Mike is going to be there as well. The next week on Wednesday, March 5th. Is that it?
Yeah.
March 5th, the CPMAs.
Yeah.
We always come down and do that.
Sure.
We fully support what the CPMAs are doing for the
Yeah.
music in the community. It's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
Brandon Valentine, what he's done for the music community is
Yeah.
fantastic.
We hope to have Brandon on some.
You
sometime
should.
soon.
You
Yeah.
should.
I
Yeah.
enjoy like just seeing
We just
you know,
like
the community.
We
Yeah.
like the community. We love to support it, and we love
Yeah.
to support it in any way we possibly can. So we're coming down for the CPMAs, and so if anybody's going to be there, we'll see everybody at the
Yeah.
CPMAs. It's at the Music Theater, though.
I
They've got American Music Theater
In Lancaster, yeah.
I love what they're doing with the youth all-star band, like
Yes.
these kids out
Yeah.
there, but also, you know, being in New Jersey, maybe we're just not aware of it, but
Yeah.
there's a music community up there, but
It's not the same.
The Central PA music community
Yeah.
It's so
is
special.
special.
It's
Yeah.
very special.
The venues like the
Yeah.
Inglewood, Mickey's Black
Thank you.
Box, Whitaker
Yeah.
Center.
Thank you. I grew up here, and this is
Yeah.
why I'm doing this. So
It's
thank you.
there's
Yeah.
something special about
Yeah.
the music community
Yeah.
out here.
And
Yeah.
the fans, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's also, there's a reason why Pennsylvania was called the Keystone State,
Yeah.
right?
Right? No, because
It's the center of everything
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the East Coast, right? You
Yeah.
have to go through it to get
Yeah.
to New York,
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty much. So,
Yeah. And the website is
solarfederationband.com.
right.
You can find us on all the social media sites.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we will always have our solarfederationband.com. You can buy merch there, so
Yeah.
you can get your t-shirts.
Yeah.
And see all the fun photos and videos that we've
Not to mention what well beyond the next show in Wayne. You can find out where you guys are going to be next.
Yeah, we do have another show
Yeah.
coming up at Mickey's Black Box the
Okay.
first week of May. So
All right.
We're still getting some stuff together, but
Yeah.
we should be announcing some more shows past
Fantastic.
2018 soon.
oh,
Yeah.
I can't tell them when it is. Mickey's
Yeah.
is in May, but just
Yeah.
so just put that
Yeah.
on your calendar.
All right. All right. Well, onward and upward from here. It continues to grow.
Yeah.
I've watched your social media just continue to take off and grow, and that's one for all of the ill wills of the internet and social media. One of the great things about it is it does provide a place where fans as a community can come together and see what you guys are up to. So so thanks again. Comprehensive
you.
conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Yeah,
It's such a pleasure.
as a fan, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this too. Is that I've seen you guys probably about a half a dozen times and met you before, but now I feel like I know you guys a lot better than I did before we started this conversation, and I
Yeah.
hope everybody that tuned in does as well.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
Julie, Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, check them out on their website, and they're going to be in Wayne, Pennsylvania, coming up on March the 1st. So, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time right here on The Night Shift.
Good. Nice.
That was so much
Thank
fun.
you so much, man. That's
That was
great.
outstanding.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was so cool.